Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
I can't
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. It is, as always, as I always say, a pleasure being here with you today. So, for those of you joining us on the different social media platforms, good morning to you. That is YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Thank you for watching us. Also, if you are watching us on channel 124 on Flow, that is Underground Television, UTV, thank you as well. And of course, we cannot forget those of you listening to us on our radio partner station, that is Hits FM 92.1 and 91.1. Good morning to Falco. I know you are a fan of the show, so thanks for watching, and to your family, everybody in Denver basically, and around the country. And of course, I was told that I do not say the people in Canada, so for those of you all in Canada, good morning, or whatever time it is over there, and thank you for joining us. Now, okay, so we'll start somewhere. It might not be appropriate, but listen, I have warring feelings about this next clip, and I'm on Twitter and everything else, and I see, like, you get interaction, people are really liking it, and I hope Peter doesn't come out for us like they've done before. But I just think, St. Lucia, we like to see me again. And it really, sometimes I just get so happy to know that I'm Lucian, and there are some things that are so quintessentially Lucian, that when you do see it, and even though some people say, well, yeah, it's supposed to be illegal, but there's an unapologetic way that St. Lucians are doing things, especially when it comes to family and enjoyment and everything else. I mean, you'll tell me what you feel, but just take a look at what our people are doing right now.
Are you ready?
So I was like, okay, so this is where we are at now. The gender reveal, cockfights, may say cockfights, how you mean, that's what it is. I don't know if it's a new wave, if it'll be something that takes the world by storm, but you know what, we're there to see. So speaking of cockfight, Parliament has been postponed, and for yet another reason that I don't understand. I don't know what that's about. But I think it's interesting, especially as we've seen the past 3 weeks, a deferment and a postponement, and I want to know the reason why. But before we even try to speculate, let's hear from Miguel.
2 parliamentary sittings scheduled for this week have been postponed. Senior correspondent Miguel Fevre has the details on the latest in a list of deferments over the past weeks.
Another parliamentary sitting has been postponed at the 11th hour. The lower house, or House of Assembly, comprising elected members of parliament, was scheduled to meet Tuesday, June 22nd. The Senate, or upper house, was to meet on Thursday the 24th. Notice came late morning, June 21st, via a press release from the Office of Parliament that they will not take place this week. The reasons for the postponement were not given in the 2-line missive, but noted the apologies of both presiding officers for, quote, any inconvenience caused. One source suggested that House Speaker Andy Daniel is not well, and the lower house is unable to convene in the absence of a deputy speaker. NBC Prime was unable to reach Speaker Daniel via telephone, but one well-placed source, when asked, stated that this was not the case. Now, the Parliament had, in late May, announced 4 consecutive weeks of parliamentary sittings in the month of June. The lower house on the customary Tuesday was set to meet on June 8th, 15th, 22nd and 29th. The Senate, June 10th, 17th, 24th and July 1st, all Thursdays. The first two lower house sittings and the first two upper house sittings were postponed days before they were scheduled. With this week's postponements, the total postponed sittings now stand at 6, leaving the sittings of June 29th and July 1st in sharp focus. Down for debate this week, according to a June 18th press release, was a resolution seeking to authorize the Minister of Finance to borrow from the European Investment Bank the sum of euro $13.5 million, or approximately EC 44 million, to finance, quote, emergency operating expenses in the health sector related to the COVID-19 virus pandemic, end quote. The loan is repayable over a period of 20 years at the date of first disbursement, inclusive of a 4-year grace period. The payments will commence following this grace period at a fixed interest rate of 1.35 to 1.45%, to be determined by the European Investment Bank at the time of the disbursement of each tranche. Amendments to the following bills were also down for consideration: Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information Bill, the Intergovernmental Agreement between St. Lucia and the United States of America, the International Business Companies Act, Income Tax Amendment Bill, and Land and House Tax Amendments. It is unclear whether the resolution or the 5 bills down for amendment will be laid next week.
So I don't know whether you're as confused as I am as to the reasoning behind it. And I do think it's sort of disrespectful. I mean, you have the people's business. There has been 6 sittings that has been, that have been postponed, and there's not been given an explanation. And for the last one, with the 44 million that we had to borrow, it was supposed to be another Bani Puete Hodi, but that's no longer, and even then the last minute cancellation, that too, it's really suspicious. It makes people feel, for me at least, what is going on? What's the discussion? Why are you doing this? What exactly is going on with the people's business, especially right on the brink of elections going on right now? So we're going to put a pin in that, because I would want anyone to speak to us on what exactly is going on and when the next date will be. But something that I think we're not uncertain about and we're not confused over is some other topic that I think we did speak about briefly last week, but I don't think we gave it enough time. And I think with Peterson Francis and how he spoke about Simple and the discrimination, we're going to take a look at that. But most importantly, our reaction as a people to what happened there, because I have seen certain things like I consider abhorrent, like there is no defense to it, like the building of the PTOs, like the things that we are seeing. Fortuna Belrose, you'd hear Nancy come there. Oh, Nancy, so she'll come out and say or try to defend something. But everything that we have seen this administration do, even the scandals, we see people saying, oh, that's not what he meant, and if that's not what he meant, then he didn't really say that, and all that sort of thing. So, but for Peterson Francis and the way that he spoke, are there people out there, and if you've seen it, let me know, people who justify what he's saying, people who agree with what he's saying, besides Fortuna and the United Workers' Party administration and their supporters, but for the right-thinking people, have you considered that maybe somehow that was right? I want to actually hear people give me some kind of explanation for if they do think it's right, because for me and for us, I think this is not only insane, it is victimization. It's what people have been speaking about, from the leader of the opposition to different parliamentarians, about how they're being treated. And yes, a simple person who trying to apply their trade, trying to make a living for themselves, they are being targeted too. So let's take a look at that. But most importantly, your reaction to what he said.
We get a lot of supporters when they do support parties and stuff. They do the damage, because they victimize people. And I'm saying that I am not that. When Emma was a district representative in Grizzly, I told Emma, do not victimize nobody. And I've said it to Kenzie, if you become the district representative of Grizzly, do not take nobody bread from them.
But how does the council justify the removal of the vendor who was initially granted permission by the CCC to ply his trade at Constitution Park? Mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, was asked whether the move was politically motivated.
I do no apology for that. Father said you to be. That Sunday before, he was on his thing, that's not a problem. The last Sunday he was again. But the mere fact that you're saying, you are there and you're actually being interviewed that Shasney must go. When Shasney goes, but it's through Shasney you have been able to vendor, because the CCC is part of the government of St. Lucia.
Despite questions surrounding the constitutional right to freedom of association, the mayor remains steadfast in his decision.
The people that is giving you an opportunity to make a living, you are telling them that they must go. So we must give you the strength to put us out.
The mayor claims that the merchant was accorded several courtesies at no cost.
Mr. Simple was not paying any tax for the day. Mr. Simple had current free. He had our tent. His things were being stored here.
However, given his razor-sharp criticism of the current dispensation, it appears these courtesies are simply no more.
I mean, come on. The politics, we know what the politics is about. The politics is the politics. It cannot be right on one side and wrong on the other side. He cannot have the right to be able to say what he wants on the road, being interviewed and saying what he wants. And Peterson Francis is not saying, well, is enough, that you can't stay there. This is also my right. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh.
In April, the current administration came under scrutiny with the controversy surrounding the so-called Belrose Doctrine. The definition was coined by Viewfort South MP Dr. Kenny Anthony to describe an utterance by Senator Fortuna Belrose, who holds the view that constituencies which did not buy into the ruling party's policies and philosophies ought not to expect the same attention from the incumbent as those who voted a UWP government into power.
Well, I wouldn't say I support or against. It would depend on the circumstances under which the incident occurs. I don't think that it would be right if for the man beating the pans and expressing a constitutional right that he is entitled to. So if that is the case, I would not support that. However, if he has violated the conditions under which he operates, I think the mayor has every right to take the action that he took. If it is if what the gentleman did was in contravention of the circumstances or the conditions under which he was asked to operate. But I don't think for expressing your own personal opinion or constitutional right that you have, if that is the reason, then I will not really agree or support that.
No, I think that is wrong and injustice, and I also think it's discrimination because everybody have their right to their own political view. Whether you yellow, whether you red, we are all one family regardless of whichever political party that we support. So I think that the mayor should do the right thing and allow the gentleman to do a living because this is how he supports his family.
No, I don't support the mayor. If the purpose of not supporting, every man got a right to decide which party they're supporting and what they make this decision all their own self. And if the man trying to make a hustler a living for himself, how comes he want to dramatize the man? He's very arrogant on that matter.
No, I don't support the mayor. He should act like a man and not like a boy. It's not because he support the guy to turn back on the guy for supporting his party. That's wrong.
Because people have the right to vote wherever they want. The mayor tell them man when to beat pan, what to do. The mayor wrong for that.
But my concern is about democracy. We live in a democracy where persons' fundamental rights ought to be respected, regardless of where you vote, who you support. I think it's not fair, for democracy itself. Also, it sends a message to our persons there who are undecided as to what is happening. I think there's a bit too much confusion, but when it comes to democracy, that has to be respected to its utmost. So I wouldn't support such if that is the case.
I cannot believe it. It is so astounding for Claudius Francis' brother to make such a statement. I'm very disappointed in the mayor. And he needs to go almost immediately. We cannot do with people like that in offices in the land, at higher offices. It's an embarrassment both to St. Lucians, the diaspora, and the world at large. A statement like that is so ludicrous that I'm at odds trying to understand why the man had to make a statement like this. He should go and go right now.
I have known Simple for a pretty long time, and since I have known Simple has always been an advocate of the SLP. So for the mayor to say that he's not aware that he was, I think that in itself is a farce. He also indicated that Simple has been getting all of that for free. If there is a procedure where persons using the facilities of the CCC has to pay, then all you had to do is to make the man pay. But to say that you're getting rid of him because he's on a campaign for the SLP, I think that really does not lend itself well to how we are trying to support all St. Lucians, because in the long run, what you would want to do is to ensure that persons who are members of the SLP get across to your side, and if you're openly and blatantly getting on like that, that certainly is not going to help your cause. So I just cannot support that based on the justification that he has said, giving the guy strength to put him off. So I really don't support it based on that.
And I think, and I saw that each person there had a point, a very valid point on, you know, everything happening there, and that sort of, and I've always had faith in St. Lucians, but it just reinforced it that, you know, we're not living completely, you know, with people like Norbert and the Minervas and the rest of the Sawhorts that just say things because they're dealing with a party, but really people are dealing with what's right and what's wrong. And I saw a few United Workers' Party supporters there, and others, people who are out, you know, just outright supporting different parties, who can recognize when something is wrong. So for that, I want to commend everybody who did speak about it. But again, it also reinforced the thought for me that this is about people, and your voice, it matters. The way you think matters. So with the clear victimization that we're seeing there, that we know to be wrong, I want to thank the people who find it within themselves, and for some it might be difficult, but find it within themselves, say when something is right and when something is wrong, when something is corrupt, when there's victimization, when people continuing to musty pay on the weak and the vulnerable, like this man has, like Peterson Francis has, and like we've seen Belrose, the Belrose Doctrine espoused, and we're seeing the United Workers' Party administration, the way they're targeting people as well, and different organizations that do not agree. So we're seeing this in a larger sense, but I did want to just air, you know, good and right thinking solutions in that way. And I think the time will come too when you will have to make a decision on many of the other instances of corruption that we are seeing. And if not corruption, it's still very, very suspicious what's going on. And with this latest one, no, we're not giving that one up, including Pajoa and all the others that we've seen in the past years. But this one we'll also need your take on it when the time comes.
Has the Chasney administration committed a crime? Cabinet has attempted to acquire land from a local company in newly obtained documents. The estimated value of the land is more than $9 million. However, observers have questioned the nature of the transaction. The company in line to benefit from the deal does not own the land, according to documents obtained by NBC Prime. Senior investigative correspondent Miguel Favre joins us in studio for a closer look.
NBC Prime was able to obtain this document, Cabinet Conclusion number 281A of 2021, dated April 19th, 2021. The caption, Compensation for Land Acquisition at Azjabet Cove, Quarter of Ancillary. The conclusion addressed an April 6th memo from the Department of Physical Planning seeking Cabinet's approval for 4 items. Number 1, the vesting of parcels 0037B 95 and 96 to invest in Lucia for the purpose of, quote, facilitating touristic and other economic investment opportunities, with Cabinet agreeing that St. Lucian nationals have first priority of investment. The second is for a company, Gold Sky Investments Inc., to be compensated EC 9.4 million as, quote, full and final payment for the acquisition of these 2 parcels of land to, quote, facilitate future touristic development. Before we continue, it must be noted that government under Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony had previously intended to acquire parcels 95 and 96 to facilitate the establishment of a dolphin park at Azjabet, but they were since aborted. The 2 parcels comprise a total of 3.15 hectares. Now, the third clause covers the method of compensation to Gold Sky Investments for those 2 parcels of land. The $9.4 million is to be split as follows. Invest in Lucia, with whom parcels 95 and 96 are now vested, will pay EC 3 million, while Government of St. Lucia will pay Gold Sky another EC 3 million in cash, and the balance, 3.4 million, through the issuance of bonds. Now, before we get to the fourth and final clause, let's establish who is the registered landowner of block and parcels 0037B, 95, and 96 located at Al-Jabet. Attorney and former government minister Richard Frederick on the June 17th episode of his talk show, Can I Help You?
The owner as of today, June 17th, 2021, is Edward Joseph, DC Chef Harry. Yes. This land belongs to and has not been removed from the name of deceased Chef Harry. And as you can see there are about 4 cautions registered against this land, this first parcel. Can you give me the back of this land register for parcel 95? So in addition, right, look the back of parcel 95. In addition to all those cautions, folks, there are several institutions, NIC, Inland Revenue, First National Bank, Caribbean Banking, all of them have an interest in that land because apparently Chef was owing and he used that land as guarantee. Parcel 96, folks, is the same thing. Edward Joseph, Chef Harry, deceased.
To your screen are NBC Prime's copies of the land register for both parcels of land. They are congruent with Frederick's revelation that block and parcel numbers 0037B, 95 and 96 are indeed registered in the name of Edward Joseph, aka Chef Harry, the deceased proprietor of the Green Parrot Hotel. Now, both parcels of land, according to the land register, have numerous cautions against them, including notes stating that numerous institutions, including the NIC, Inland Revenue, and a number of local banks have interests in the respective properties. Addressed in Clause 4 of the Cabinet conclusion, that these other parties with interest be, quote, dealt with directly by Gold Sky Investments, Inc. and the estate of Joseph Edward, end quote. Now, who is Gold Sky Investments, Inc.? Here once again is Richard Frederick.
As you see here, the director of the company, as of the date of the annual return, Mark D. Maraj. Mark D. Maraj, the sole director of the company Gold Sky Investments.
According to the company registration documents obtained by NBC Prime as well, Mark D. Maraj was the sole shareholder as at December 31st, 2020. Of note on the April conclusion is Attorney General Stephen Julian, who is first cousin to Principal Mark Maraj, recused himself from the cabinet meeting. It must be noted as well that more directors were added 1 week following the April cabinet conclusion. Now, based on the information presented, that is, the land is registered in the name of Edward Joseph, yet cabinet is seeking to compensate the company Gold Sky Investments, Frederick, the attorney, suggests that the parties involved acted ultra-virus.
I will say this. It is downright unlawful. It is illegal. It lacks any kind of justification, an iota of legal justification for the cabinet of ministers to agree to pay to anyone or to agree to pay to any company compensation for acquired property which is not registered in that individual or in that company's name.
Is it illegal? Well, following Richard Frederick's claim, our news team phoned a prominent local attorney well versed in land law. The attorney who spoke with us on condition of anonymity stated the following, quote, Cabinet has no right to involve itself in the payment of claims to priority interests or creditors regarding the sale of private lands. That lies between the landowner and the creditors, end quote. Further to this, quote, it is indeed illegal for the Cabinet to compensate a company for the acquisition of land to which the company or individual is not the registered owner, end quote. Therefore, with this information in mind, NBC Prime asks the following questions. Is there a last will and testament in the name of deceased Joseph Edward, aka Chef Harry? If so, has it been probated? Who are the rightful heirs to block and parcel numbers 95 and 96? Is there a court order or court orders regarding the settlement of monies owed to creditors or other parties with interest? If so, was Gold Sky Investments Inc., owned by Mark Mirage, appointed receiver? And if not, how does Gold Star fit into the equation? And that's it for this report. I am Miguel Favre.
Madras. Hey. Free second day. Boom. I like it. Chrome.
Pani street party c'est jou ça là. Pani l'argent encore. Si nous tous prenons responsabilité et faire ça nous ni pour faire. Bagay la kay marcher et nous tout kay manger. En nous tirer la peine nous kay danser encore.
Wear a mask, wash your hands and maintain a 6-feet distance. If we keep St. Lucia safe, we can keep our economy running.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
My health and strength is my profession. It is the top priority to me and my family. By taking the COVID-19 vaccine, I can protect those who are vulnerable in my family and also my clients. To all the health-conscious persons and the athletes, I would like to say, COVID-19 has no friends, and we healthy persons can be affected as well. And worse yet, we can pass it on to those amongst us who are vulnerable. I'm looking forward to having a full class again and not having to choose which clients can come to work out today and tomorrow. I'm looking forward to our fitness family getting back together.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Boom! Back it up, gal. Back it up, gal. Back it up, gal. Back it up, gal. Yo, you don't know it's the one and only Freezy here can begin up UTV, Underground TV. Madras.
The coronavirus had delayed a lot of things. Correct. And so, and the Honorable Guy Joseph made the announcement on numerous occasions. He had made it here that St. Jude's will be open before the next elections. Yes. Now, I'm not the Honorable Guy Joseph. I am not down at St. Jude's, but I've been there on 2 occasions. A lot of work has been done. And I don't want to speak for the Honorable Guy Joseph. I'm speaking from my own, based on what I saw, my observations. A lot of work has been done. It's a huge building, a beautiful, huge building. But based on the delays, that's Champagne speaking, not the minister, I don't think that St. Jude's will be open before the elections if we have to look at 6 months. That is me speaking, that is not the minister speaking, that is not you, that is just me, based on what I saw. And I'm still not a contractor. I am just saying, I could be wrong.
Tell you something, I buy what you're saying, Champagne, but also there are different ways to run a business. Yeah. You went down to St. Jude's, there are 3 different structures. Yes. That's just me again. I have not discussed the matter with anybody. As a layman, I've been there, I haven't been there for 3 weeks with last time, but I get pictures of where they are. Right. Okay? There are ways and means that you can have what you call a soft opening, whereby you can concentrate on a certain area. Okay. Because I think from what I'm being told that St. Jude's has something like 50 patients or something like that. I don't know.
That's the George Adams Stadium.
Yeah, at the George.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. They may be.
That's not a lot of people. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome to the hotspot, and I'm the host who will be definitely doing the most, your boy Kwan.
And I'm your girl Z. We do know, Kwan, that proper healthcare remains the #1 priority for the government of St. Lucia.
Indeed, it is,
and
Kizzy.
over the past year, Kwan, we did see the move from Victoria Hospital to the OKEU Hospital, which provided much more medical opportunities for our citizens here in St. Lucia, Kwan. And let me tell you, the buzz about St. Jude's, Kwan, finally, as a citizen of the South,
Everybody's talking about it.
I feel elated that we
Likewise,
are
Kizzy,
finally
likewise.
nearing completion of St. Jude's Hospital, Kwan. And we did, one of our roaming hosts, Joshua, did have the opportunity to go down there to speak to some of the employees on their experience. And let me tell you, it's a privilege to be working on a state-of-the-art hospital. So let's head on down to Joshua to see what he was able to capture with the employees down there.
Hey guys, you know who it is. I'm Joshua Harry here at the construction site of the St. Jude Hospital. We're currently here to see what's happening and all the progress that is being made. And to interview, I have a lovely young lady who's going to be joining me to discuss what's going on at the premises.
Hey guys, my name is Whitney Willie. I've been employed here as a site technician assistant for over a year.
Still at the construction site of the St. Jude Hospital. And next to me is Shem William, who is working on site here to make sure this hospital comes to fruition. So thank you for joining us. What is your experience working here at the construction of the St. Jude Hospital?
I've been employed here for about a year and a half. And over the past year, I realized that over 500 persons have been employed on this project. And young persons, that is, mostly young persons.
Well, the experience working here at St. Jude's Hospital has been one of growth and of hope, because it's been a while that we've been wanting and needing this hospital here, and we definitely now we have something of substance, we have something that has great promise, and something that is finally giving us the hope.
And that is something that is very beautiful that you said, because there are a lot of people who are seeking hope right now, who are facing unemployment. So with the construction of this hospital, do you believe that it has actually catered to some level of unemployment in the community or in St. Lucia?
Yes, it has. It has with the community, with the South. When we began, the majority of our workers here are from the South, and we worked even right through the entire COVID pandemic. We've been at it, we've been employed. Our numbers have not decreased. We've been keeping it steady. So yes, I believe it has helped a lot of persons through even the pandemic right now.
And as you say that there are a lot of young people or a lot of individuals who are here from the South, with this hospital being built, do you think that it will provide some aspect of economic development to the southern hemisphere of St. Lucia?
Yes, of course. I do believe that this would help. It is. I think it is evident right now. You understand? With the pandemic, you look at what's going on, you don't find as many people crying the way that they would. It's not felt the way that it is felt majority of the other places, because again, we're here, we're working at it, and everybody has something to look forward to.
Thank you, Shem Williams, again for joining us on this discussion on the hotspot, and thank you for always speaking of hope, because you mentioned that a lot of times. It's always good to have faith, to have a hope, because you never know what's going to come and happen next, So keep the inspiration. And Shem, before you go, do you have any message that you want to give out to our viewers?
We need to come together a bit more. We need to wait and support, just wait and know that something is coming. It's in the pipelines and it's for the better, So you have to wait, wait and see what happens.
I would really like to advise young people to, keep the faith, keep going, don't give up no matter what.
You're here at Unity and Prosperity for a Resilient Nation, Independence 2021. We still on and the journey continues. So back to you, Kizzy and Kwan in the studio and reporting live from the construction site in the South. Back to you in the studio, ladies.
Thank you so much for that, Joshua. It looks like you had a wonderful time in Viewfort. And don't forget to tune in next week, guys, for another interesting episode of Newsflash.
Let me tell you, Kizzy, St. Jude's looks fantastic. We hear people talking about the Pearl of the Caribbean in the South. I think St. Jude's on its own will be the Pearl of the Caribbean. It looks absolutely incredible.
Indeed,
world-class
Kwan.
facility, and I'm
Indeed,
excited.
it does.
Being a resident of Dennery, it will be my absolute pleasure to head down there when I am feeling ill. So again, kudos to the government of St. Lucia.
There we go. there is the hospital. I want St. Lucians to compare what they're seeing today versus what was there before. You have now an international hospital. You have an airport going up next door. All these things work hand in hand to bring Beaufort to a civilized area. And that's all I'm trying to say. Nobody's fighting anybody. Do you think the government wanted to go out and borrow a whole lot of money to go and do something? For years, we owe it to St. Lucia, we owe it to Beaufort, we owe it to the South to make this happen. Right.
Good morning. It's good to see this beautiful structure we have down in Beaufort.
Yes.
The new built hospital by this government, the United Workers' Party.
So once again, we are seeing what is clearly out there, people wanting to feed to us that, you know, the St. Jude's, the building is almost there. Kwan, I will never, ever, ever get used to the fact that you said you want to get sick to have the pleasure to go down to St. Jude's. First Ibok was at Telma. Then you also have the father of the Prime Minister saying, you know what, St. Jude's is going to be great. Maybe they need more time, you know, to fix St. Jude's because COVID took that away clearly to them. So you're getting the United Workers' Party pushing that. Let's put up the next image too. So, you know, it's a coordinated effort to make people think. The United PAC. Once again, we'll put this picture up and everything else as if the hospital is going to be done really, really soon. And if you remember as well, what's his name, Guy Joseph was saying, if they don't build it, if they finish the St. Jude's avant election couillé, they don't deserve to be put in power. They don't deserve to be governing St. Lucia. So all of these things there, the pressure is on them. They try to veglate, try to mama guy people. I think with all of that being said and people trying to muddy the waters and everything, we need an actual expert, not the young people that are being paid to say what they're saying. It's so much so you can depale diovle malad pour your aller l'hôpital. People who have experienced sickness or even has been close to it know not to even call that on themselves. Make Kwan you can pay or tell me ça ouvre fait. And for the others, they know what they're getting. So none of that. We need an expert who will tell us the assessment, a proper assessment of where St. Jude's is right now. And for me, Mark Hedicott is one of these people who they have showed their expertise in the field. And just so we know what Mark Hedicott has done, he has studied in College of Arts, Science and Technology. He studied at the Caribbean School of Architecture. He was a former associate, a project architect at Newell Lewis, Broadbridge Associates, West Indies Limited. He was also the former project officer at CBD and Government of St. Lucia Basic Education Enhancement Project. And currently, he is the Inter-Island Architect Principal. So, a real expert, someone who has studied, somebody who knows these things, not somebody who wants their son to stay in power, or somebody that, you know, have a talk show, piece you can pay, or a young person are getting paid, or Kwan that have to depale. None of that. People who actually know what they're talking about. Give us, tell us, what exactly is going on down there? What is your assessment?
I think I too viewed a number of the videos floating around in social media this weekend, and I think what I saw was extremely alarming, to say the very least. In fact, I was disappointed, not because of the incomplete state of the works, but more so because of the quality of the work that I saw. I think that what I saw in the videos befits what the Minister for Planning rightfully described as, and I quote, muddled construction and unplanned madness. One of the first aspects of the building which struck me was its outlook. Videos were showing what the building looked like as someone who was recording it was driving past. And in my view, the building has failed miserably in its endeavor to look like a place of well-being with the capacity to inspire health and wellness. In my opinion, it is very unfortunate that it looks so penitential. And then there was the aspect of color. As far as the color scheme is concerned, the application is an abysmal failure. What obtains currently is so elementary and amateurish. You see, Color is a very subjective design tool which must be handled with proper care and attention, especially when the intention is to appeal to the psychological and emotional well-being of the user through the quality of the space in which color is used. The videos also revealed two very critical issues relative to the construction of the internal partitions and the external lightweight cladding. In the first instance, it is very apparent from the videos that in the rush to completion, provision for the suppression of sound or the reduction of noise transmission between adjacent spaces and even across floors, the substantial concrete elements has perhaps been overlooked. The galvanized framework is seen fixed directly to concrete substrates without a sound insulation between. This can permit the transmission of noise and especially vibrations between the floors and across the functional spaces. The question of waterproofing came across as being another problem that the design has to contend with. In one video, there were incidents of water or rainwater penetration from the roof level along the inner side of the buildings, especially areas where it has already been clad. That is unacceptable, especially at this stage of the project, because provisions in the construction ought to have by now been made for the disposal of roof water in order not to compromise any ongoing works or to compromise the panels themselves. It is conceivable that such a problem can be checked, at a later date with the proper application of approved waterproofing mastics and or roof membranes. But in the right sequence, that ought to have been done now, especially when the intention is to close up the building and start to do internal construction works as with what we see with the construction of the panels, the internal partitions, and what seems to be already some finishes. So you need to protect those works by ensuring that the building is not just airtight but watertight. Another fundamental concern which the videos expose, in my view, should be that of the ease of transfer of fire, smoke, heat, and likewise within the envelope of the building or between floors. Essentially, it also begs the question whether the design has made provision for incorporating what we know as fire stops in the voids between the external cladding and the reinforced concrete frame around the perimeter of the building. We see in some of the photographs gaping openings that should be secured, but what I imagine would take place is that an internal skin of the cladding panel would be secured and fixed in place and not necessarily be filled. That void really should be filled to prevent fire from transmitting from lower levels or from one space on the floor level into another, across the outer cladding. Then in internal photos of the building, again, as we have seen in social media, it would appear that the installation of internal partitioning has just commenced. And it seems as if the installation of these partitions has preceded the installation of soffit-mounted surfaces, especially if the corridors should also double as service ducts. You see, in hospital construction, in which service runs are usually extremely long and uninterrupted, it always is convenient and economical to install long-run service lines before partitions go up. This sequence not only allows for a faster erection time and minimizes waste, but it reduces disruption and the potential for damaging of, the more costly finishing works and materials. you need to sequence the works properly so that you don't have what is called double operations and double handling of certain tasks. It can also be observed in some photographs are the materials used in the fabrication of what clearly is very lightweight curtain wall panels. Invariably, the panels comprise of a very thin skin of pre-painted cementitious Duroc material secured to a galvanized metal frame and fixed onto the sides of the building to provide the final finish to the building's exterior envelope. Now, given the function of the building as a healthcare facility, it is difficult to appreciate how this form of construction shall safeguard the hospital from the impact of hurricanes, gale force winds, earthquakes, and even driving rain. During such hazards and environmental events, materials can get detached and cause damage, as well, costly damage that is, as well as personal injury. In addition, because this form of construction is regarded as highly specialized in nature, careful design, detailing, and quality control in fabrication and installation is required to ensure safety and proper performance. It is also conceivable that the final panels shall be a typical sandwich construction, which includes an air cavity. As we also notice from some images, the material specification of these panels provide a drainage channel which transfers water and moisture across the panel into the internal cavity wall. If these drainage grooves become blocked over time, moisture can get trapped in the cladding panels. So the real concern then should be with this form of construction, what sort of maintenance of air quality is going to be in place in this hospital, and the means of safeguarding, these air cavities within the panels from becoming incubators for mold. After all, curtain wall cladding panels and the air cavities within them shall be situated at that point where the internal, fully air-conditioned, temperature-controlled building space interfaces and separated from the extremely humid and fluctuating external conditions outside of the building. That condition is not only ideal for the culture of mold and the growth of mold in the cavity, shall never be visible until it becomes problematic and starts to show as a discoloration of any internal surfaces next to where the mold is starting to generate. So that can be a major concern if, again, these voids in the cladding are not properly sealed off and controlled to prevent, air quality issues within the building. As far as the status of completion of the building is concerned, I hasten to add this. Given what can be observed from the many photographs in circulation this weekend, the works, in my view, are no more than 35 to 40% complete. You see, typically a construction project like this hospital moves through a number of chronological stages, which can include, but certainly not are limited to, the substructural or below ground works, superstructural or above ground works, the services, installation of services like electricity, water, drainage, and the distribution of those services, air conditioning, sound. Then there's finishes, including painting, tiling, or wall, floor, and ceiling finishes. And then there's the commissioning, which would include the installation of special furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And then there is the handover and operationalization of the facility. So that the works are still somewhere between substructural and superstructural stage. And there either no visible signs or insufficient signs to show that even a first fix of the services, like the distribution of water lines or electrical conduits for power and lighting, these have, if they have commenced, they're not visible. Certainly not in the areas and the floors above ground where partitioning has already started. I also think that in June of 2016, we were nearer to realizing a new and completed general hospital in Beaufort than we are today, 5 years later in June of 2021. It therefore goes without saying that the current works, as they stand, what I have seen, if that's an indication of the completion of the building, it's the very least, 3 years away from construction, from completion. It is indeed sad that everything is now wide open and fully exposed. And what is more unfortunate is the fact that hard-working citizens of St. Lucia must continue to work diligently in order to generate not only taxes to service the loans taken so far, but we have to find additional sources of funding to complete this hospital. And if that isn't enough, consider that the current and future generations of St. Lucians must also be taxed in order to meet salaries, gratuities, and pensions of these MPs, public officers, and government officials who were involved with any alleged greed, tardiness, and, collusion associated with this incomplete project. In my view, this St. Jude Hospital debacle is shameful and scandalous. It is something which we all have to work to correct, and for the restoration of national pride and dignity to the place of St. Jude, to the professionals and practitioners who have served and who continue to serve at the George Odlum Stadium, and of course to the people whom they serve. It is sad that there's no assurance as to when they will be transferred from the George Odlum Stadium, and I think that is demoralizing, that is unfortunate, and we all have to take responsibility for what we have done to them. This is clearly an injustice. And in closing, I just want to think that there is something noteworthy about the fact that few people have realized that the amount granted to the government and people of St. Lucia by the European Union to construct and fit out the OKEU hospital in the amount of 167 million EC dollars was exactly 400,000 EC dollars less than that amount stated in the Padroa letter, $167.4 million for works described as inclusive of St. Jude Hospital.
And like I said, I think it is important, really important, that we listen to an actual professional speak on these issues. And yeah, it was long, but I think when you get these things carefully explained to you, it really puts it in perspective. And for those of you, and I know the United Workers' Party and the people there, they have a disrespect, a disdain I've seen for professionals. But would you still have that kind of disdain? People, who is Mark Henniker to be saying these things? He's the same person that was involved in OKEU, same person that was involved in his business involved in the construction of St. Jude's Hospital, the reconstruction project, and yes, even Coco Palm involved in that too. Not just that, the same Sufre terminal you like to see, Itela too, and so many of the different projects that we're seeing, including Arbor Club as well. A professional involved with all of these things. It doesn't matter about politics or anything like that. When somebody good and a person is a professional, I think we need to hear what they're saying. So for those of you who continue to try to mama guy people, this is not a joke, and it may have worked on other things. But when you are dealing with people's lives, people have died because of where they are placed, and people in a stadium, especially people in Viewfort, people in the South, we know what it is to go in a stadium. We know what it is to watch people like I get beds. I have watched my grandmother do the same thing. My father almost lost his arm while he was trying to deal with that fire in St. Jude's, and that's for me personally. But for thousands of St. Lucians, the people that have died, the people that have not gotten the right treatment, we are going to try to mama guy St. Lucians in the face of all of that and put nice colors outside of a building while inside is shit, and try to sell it off to St. Lucians. And I think that is an exact metaphor of the way that the Prime Minister and the rest of these guys that they deal. On the outside, yeah man, talk the talk and whatever, but no substance. And if you see that and you don't feel insulted by it, if you allow yourself to once again do that for another 5 years, I think we have a problem. Let's take the call very quickly. We'll try to squeeze in a few calls. Good morning.
Good morning, Trisha.
Good morning,
Trisha,
sir.
what I witnessed there on my television is unconscionable that those guys would take a loan of $100 million on taxpayers' head to repay this. I mean, we cannot even fathom how long it's going to take us to repay this kind of money, right? And to see that intentionally, you could have seen in bluff all the way, because according to Mark Hannicat, and again, as you said, if anybody wants to question the credibility of this man, they just have to take a drive into Rodney Bay and look at Harbour Club right opposite the marina and see the work that he has been involved in. I know he has been involved in also hotels in St. Kitts and other parts of the Caribbean as well. So we know this is somebody who has the credibility, who has the knowledge, who has the understanding, who has the expertise to say exactly what you were saying there today on that video. And as I said, Trisha, for our government to have had a project that could have been finished in 9 months when they took office, even that same Mark Hannicat and Peters too, John Peters, made the point with the remaining money that they had from the first loan that was taken by the Labour Party government. There was a balance of $20 million. And they said, I think about 9 million or more could have finished the east wing of what was already there. And it was 4,000 square feet bigger than what obtains at the stadium. They refused to do that. And they stopped work for 3 years. 3 years. Spent almost $1 million. A forensic financial report. Up to now, that has not come to the public. You know what I'm saying? They used our tax money to do that, right? Wasted 3 years to start the monstrosity and the box that they have constructed there right now. And I'm happy that St. Lucians, people like Apple, I must give him my kudos, who have gone there and taken the videos and see what they have been fooling us with. And then to have the father of the prime as part of that whole, line, like I say, that an apple don't fall far from the tree. So we know it right now. Thank you very much, Michael, for exposing them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have another call on hold. Good morning.
Good morning, Trisha.
Yes? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon.
Oh, we there already? Okay.
Yeah. It's just a shame in this country. It's real shame. And what happened to Simple may have all right, because we are just seeing the implementation of the Belrose Doctrine. Okay. Like the Prime Minister is saying, they have Lord Gouvernement. The mayor is the Lord because the Lord giveth and taketh.
I think you're taking that lordship too serious.
Exactly. But we're not seeing the depth of this situation. If Peterson did not do that, they would have fired him. He was instructed to do that, and then they tend to take the blame. I'm telling you that straight. He was instructed to do that, and they tend to take the blame. Because everybody saw Simple with Richard on the van and everything. and they know that Peterson have him in front of City Council, making his little living, not paying anything. I mean, that's rather gracious of them, not paying no tax for being there, using the tent, not paying for it, electricity, also storing his stuff at the City Council as safety and everything, not paying anything. But because he spoke out of the injustice that's been done in his country as a citizen, they would remove him from there. I mean, they could have just charged him for the tent, for rent for his stuff, and for being in the spot there. But no, they remove him. So
but that's what happens when, you know, if there are favors being taken, if you have to pay for your thing the way everybody else does, I prefer to just pay for it like everybody else, because when these people feel like give you a favor, they can just take it back from you, because they are, like he said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So see, that's how they think it.
What I want to see is the policemen standing up and saying enough is enough and saying Shastney must go. I want to see if Shalry stand up and say enough is enough, Shastney must go. If they will fire him, if they will demote him, all of these things. This is what I want to know. Because a lot of the policemen in the force there right now, they don't stand for what them people doing, you know. They're not supporting them. They are at work, yes, but they're not supporting it. So I want to know if high-ranking officers right now would stand up, make it known that this is nonsense and Shastney must go if they will fire them. Trisha, very good show. Have a good day.
Have a good one. Thank you very much, caller. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tresha.
Good afternoon, sir.
Tresha, I'll not speak to the issue of the St. Jude Hospital because I think Mark Honeycutt. But I will return to that despicable act committed by Peterson Francis, the mayor of Castries, in terms of what he did to Simple. But Tresha, we ought not to be surprised by Peterson Francis' despicable act, you know. Because remember on May 13, 2018, that was on Mother's Day in 2018, Peterson Francis had all those women's trees, those vendors, he had them collected and dumped in Marshall. Remember that?
I do.
And later he came out to issue
and not just
somewhat
once
of an apology. Because he said he had not notified the vendors before he took that action. But even before that, Tresha, Peterson Francis had been hounding vendors, hounding the city vendors, confiscating their property and arrogantly dismissing their concerns in terms of his behavior. So this latest unforgivable act by Peterson shouldn't be viewed in isolation, because Peterson has been showing us over and over and over what he's made of. What is even less surprising is the resounding silence coming from the political directorate. And it makes one wonder, what is it that Peterson is doing, quite apart from his mayoral duties, for the political directorate, including the Prime Minister, which has the Prime Minister silent in terms of that latest despicable, unforgivable act. I mean, how can Peterson talk about in one breath what he did wasn't political, but then goes on to say that Simple cannot be doing what he's doing, where he is located, and then talking about Shas must go. I mean, the man has a constitutional right to associate with whomever he chooses. He has a constitutional right to free expression. That is his constitutional right.
Agreed, caller. Agreed.
Anyway, yes, thanks, Tresha.
Thank you. I know we're a bit over time, but for me, and like you said, with everything that we're seeing here with Simple, and that's just, some of the things that we know and we've seen over the past years with the Pajoa letter and everything else. We have parliament sessions being cancelled. You having, I don't know, Simon Gavolete, all of these things. And have you seen the Prime Minister at all? I don't know where he's hiding. I don't know. I think it's cowardice at this point. If you have all of these issues and you're pretending to stick your head in the sand and say nothing, but you have your minions creating fake profiles and coming under people's lives and talk shows, and that's what you're sending out, minions. But nobody's out there to even say anything. All we're getting is just continued bullshit and people trying to mama-guy people. So when you're going to put cladding as the wall of a hospital, if there's going to ever be a hurricane, God forbid, in St. Lucia here right now, and you have that building a hospital as walls for us, how can that withstand that? When people have, when there are emergencies and school children and everybody have to go to the hospital, that is what you're doing. But you're going to make that for a hospital. And I think it's criminal. If you have there are people at St. Jude's there now, the nurses there now are complaining that they have one kettle for a floor and all of the other things that they're dealing with, and you're going to come and mama guy and paint buildings, and when rainfall, we're seeing how it's being flooded. That is what you're calling the hospital. That is what you're going to be saying. But again, the insult to my intelligence, I think we could deal with anything as St. Lucians. If you say maybe it's not completed, or I don't know, say something, but to lie, to paint it, to tell us it's going to be done soon, and that is the way inside is, that is the way outside is, that is the way y'all doing things here, and you want us to fall for that. Well, I know where I stand on this issue, and when you've heard from the professionals, when I see my grandmother, my friends giving birth in a stadium over 10 years, all of the things that we've seen there in the South, and to insult me and to insult the thousands of people there, after you can't let anybody go in, you want to let the parliamentary rep or anybody go in, you will try to mama guy us. Well, if it works for you, I don't know, Masavas at DC, but I know that is fooling me. All that bullshit, that is fooling me. And in fact, I am insulted. Try to wheel and come again, do something else. And Prime Minister, I don't know what you're doing. I've been thereby for all the things that we've seen, the Pajoa letter and everything else, stop it. Like you told the public service workers how long ago, stop it. Cowardice doesn't suit you. Okay? Come out, say something. Okay? That's it for the show. We'll see you guys tomorrow. See what you play at 11, as always, where we continue to speak on the issues in the most honest way that we can. But until then, have a good one.
I can't stay. My